You are listening to the Enormocast.
La Sportiva is a proud sponsor of the Enormocast, and though they could rest on their laurels, keep tossing mirrors at my thick skull, and watch me stroke them like one of Lenny's doomed rabbits, La Sportiva has in fact dropped several innovations on us for the summer. Behold the Kataki, a lace-up version of the laser-guided Otaki in case you need to squeeze more blood out of your toes to hit that jib. And the venerable Mythos has been updated to the Mythos Eco, a shoe made from 95% recycled materials and clean processing. And the Maverick, a fun, customizable shoe for kids, designed for a more comfortable, less restrictive fit on growing feet. Just the thing to convince them they love climbing before video games steal their souls and they never want to step outside again. So head to Sportiva.com or your local climbing retailer to check out all of Sportiva's new goods. And remember, when you support Sportiva, you support the Enormocast. Look, folks, hear me now, listen to me later, believe me a couple weeks from now. If you're still belaying your friends, with your head tipped back, your mouth open, like some three-chin bucktooth gaper, then you're totally blowing it. If you're halfway through your road trip and rubbing your neck in pain every night, then you're totally blowing it. If you're staring at the ground while your best friend is up there squealing and grunting in fear like a trapped weasel, then you're totally blowing it. Stop blowing it and become a better, happier, and safer belayer by going to blazebex.com and entering Enormocast at checkout.
We gotta get
Listen, where are you playing in town? You playing here?
We're doing the Enormo Dome, whatever it is. It's terrific.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
a
big
house. We
place
sold
that
it
side
out.
of town. That's a
Very
big
nice.
place. You sold it out.
20,000 seats. We really should.
Look, you better get up there before you panic. Those pens are loose. You're very good. I have really enjoyed climbing with you. We'll make it. I don't think so. But we shall continue with style. Good weather, bad weather. Now or later, anytime for climbing.
Today's show is brought to you by Black Diamond Equipment, with support from Maxim Ropes.
And the fine folks at La Sportiva. And don't forget our charter sponsor, Bonfire Coffee. Go to bonfirecoffee.com and enter Enormo at checkout for a discount on great coffee and to support the Enormocast.
And now back to the show.
Hello and welcome to the Enormocast. This is your host, Chris Kalous. It is about 11 o'clock on June 6th, 2017, or if you prefer, 0 PFS. And on today's show, episode 130 of the Enormocast, a conversation with Italian climber Jacopo Larcher. Not Jacopo Larcher, as you might have thought and read. It's difficult to say his name correctly with a big, clumsy American mouth. And Italian does, in fact, make American English seem like some sort of idiom for brutes. But when I went on a trip with the family to Siurana in February, I caught up with Jacopo and got him to sit down, which was awesome. He was there climbing with his special lady friend and Enormocast favorite, at least the Royal We's favorite, Babsy Zangar. And in fact, pretty much up until I sat down with Jacopo, I just thought of him as Babsy's boyfriend. And secretly I was like, he doesn't deserve her. But in fact, he does. They get along great. They're an amazing partnership. So I'll put that behind me. Anyway, the news to tell you about is that the Royal We, along with the entourage, will be headed up to Lander to the International Climbing Festival again this year for sure. And that is July 12th to the 16th. We will be making the scene up there, doing our thing, hanging out, climbing a little bit, just being there, really. I'm going to MC the speaker night as well, but mostly we're there just to hang out and have a good time. I really highly recommend that festival. I've been for years and years in a row. Lander's a great town, great climbing town, super fun festival, free camping in the park. It's a nice place to be that time of year. If you're rolling through, you should check it out. And of course, there's the Lander Bar, one of the great climbing bars of all time. You can get tickets, just find out what's going on up there at climbersfestival.org. I don't want to disappoint anybody, but I'm not sure if the mobile studio is going to make it up there this year. It's, it's getting a little bit creaky even for that trip. It's just kind of exhausting to drive that far in that thing. 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, however how long it takes going 60 miles an hour. And that's if there's no headwind. And there's always a fucking headwind in Wyoming. Doesn't matter which way you're going. That's why the people are so tough. But the Enormocast entourage will be up there, so hopefully we'll hang out. So I caught up with Jacopo on a day after he had thrown a few laps on his project at the time, La Rambla, the 9A, the infamous 9A in Siurana in the El Pati sector, which he ended up doing after we left, not too long after we left, and also after a few beers that night. So it's kind of funny because his English starts out strong and it starts to kind of fall apart a little bit in the end of the interview. But we did our best, and the Italian accent, it's still wonderful to hear. So, and anybody who's tried to hold up a conversation in a foreign tongue for a long time knows what it's like when the little rubber bands running the motors up there start to snap. But he's fluent in English, and he made a valiant effort, so I appreciate that. So I hope you enjoyed this one. A little foreign flavor from across the pond. A conversation with Jacopo Larcher. How was your day?
It was tiring.
Yeah.
It was really windy. We went climbing at El Pati. It was really cool. Trying to do some sport climbing again after so much multi-pitch action, and it was really good.
Yeah. So is this trip kind of? You were, as a younger guy, sport climbing was your thing. Well, competition climbing, then sport climbing, then you sort of found multi-pitch climbing. Is this sort of something like, is this trip kind of let's settle down and we'll just go and have some fun and focus on a sport climb?
Yeah, actually we're always doing a lot of sport climbing in winter, because we are traveling all the year, more for multi-pitch climbing or trail climbing, and so we really like to stay, especially December and January, to stay at home, train, and then do a just easy sport climbing trip.
Right.
In February, March.
Right.
So it's kind of a routine for us to do it every year.
Is it tricky for you to change your mindset into you're projecting, you're on that mode right now.
Yeah, now yes.
And going back to this climb, every other day or however many days you can manage to try, and you're working on La Rambla. So. Is it hard for you to make that switch, or are you just is it just climbing to you?
No, it's just climbing. And I think for me it's really important to have this, to change what I'm doing over the year, because otherwise I will lose my motivation. So it's really important and easy for me to switch from one aspect of climbing to the other.
And this is, you. When you're here, and even for me, as an American, it's I get over to Spain, and it's this reunion of all these climbers I know from not just the U.S. but from the world.
Yeah, everybody's here. I meet more people here than at home. I go to the bakery and
right, all your friends are there.
Yeah.
Half of our town is here.
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody's here.
Half of the Roaring Fork Valley is where I live, and half the climbing scene is actually just staying a block away from here. So.
Yeah, it's really cool. That it's like a meeting point for everybody. And still, after so many years, Siurana was one of the first place, I think, for climbing in Spain, in Europe, and still after so many years, it's still a meeting point for everybody.
Yeah, it's interesting. We were just joking before we started recording. Is that you're trying to climb one of the harder routes here, very famous 9A, 9A plus.
Yeah.
Which, God knows, what is that? 15 something? 515 A or B or some such thing.
Well, I think 15. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really bad
in that zone. And
15A or.
You've been having to kind of like share the route with quite a few people in the last.
Yeah,
few
it was
weeks.
crazy. Like,
yeah.
I didn't expect to see so many people there. Didn't expect to have to wait in a line.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the strong kids
There
are
was
going
nobody
out.
on the 7B plus I was working on today. Nobody. So.
But there were like 5 or 6 people trying the Rambla. Yeah, it's crazy. Somehow it's really cool to see so many like strong and motivated people trying the same route, and it's a really historical route, so it's cool to see like how the climbing has evolved over the years.
Yeah, and I don't know when this will come out, but Margot Hayes, that was the latest news that she just sent it, which debatably is the first woman to climb 15A.
I think so.
Yeah. There's like ones that were
like slash grade
9A slash plus or whatever. So it's a little bit in foggy, but nevertheless an amazing achievement.
It was really cool to see her.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know her, and I went there and she just like introduced herself. Hi, I'm Margot, and then she started climbing, and I knew that she was trying the route, but I didn't know that she was so close.
Right.
And then like at that try, she fell off the last hard move or whatever, and it looked like she was climbing in a 7A. It looked so easy, and it was so inspiring to see her climbing. And then later we got the news that she climbed it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was really, really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I haven't been over there yet this year. Actually, I probably won't go, but I spent a bunch of time 2 years ago over there because the route actually that was really popular with people was La Reina Mora, which is a little bit easier. Yeah, and still heinous. But Ethan Pringle was working on it, and so I ended up over there. I actually ended up over there the day he sent it, which was pretty cool. And it was the same thing. It was like a bunch of people working those routes and like just ecstatic when somebody would do them, which was pretty cool. So it's too bad you missed the Sen though for Margot.
It looked so easy.
Right on.
It looked really, really easy.
We'll move on, but how's it going for you?
Wow, not so bad. Like
good.
I haven't tried so much. I think today was my second or third day on.
At 27, you're probably like the oldest dude trying it right now over there.
Yeah. No, not really, but sometimes I feel old.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
especially like I'm setting a lot of comms, and there are just I feel old. I feel like the old man who's setting comms, and there are all these young kids, so young.
Yeah, it's a sport that's really I don't know. It's kind of focusing on that, but I think with competition climbers and then the ones who do like you did, graduate to climbing outside and sort of climbing on your own and making your own kind of motivations and that does happen a little bit later with a lot of kids.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of really good young climbers. And 27 is like you're starting to age out a little bit.
Yeah.
How do you think I feel?
I can't call myself a young climber anymore.
No, you don't get to be the young rad climber.
No.
Now you're just another 27-year-old guy, Euro guy that can
almost
crank.
30.
I want to actually talk a little bit about the Zodiac too, as long as we're focusing on climbs, because this is like, you've got here you're hammering out a project, getting up late, going up, drinking coffee, going out.
It's easy life.
Giving it a try. But you guys recently freed the Zodiac, which was, I think we talked about maybe the third free ascent of it.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about the motivation there, like going and trying these big wells. What was your style in terms of how you approach that route? And you were climbing with Babsy, Barbara Zangirl.
Our approach. So for us, it's really important when we do a project together. We are always climbing together, but like for us, it's really important that we both like sand all the pitches. It's not just we don't climb as a team just to make it easier.
Right.
We just to share the experience. So for us, it's really important to share all these adventures together, and at the same time, it's really important to both like sand route, like we climb for our own. And so the style, we knew that the route was really hard, so we decided not to try it like in one single push.
Right.
So we decided to go ground up without rappelling down. And we started working on the route. We spent several days on the wall working on the single pitches. And then when we felt ready for the real attempt, we just like rapped down and we started. So we worked, I think, for sure more than 10 days, the single pitches, like on several attempts. And then we started from the ground and we swing lead on the easier pitches, like up to 12A, and then we both led all the hardest pitches.
So you guys just came up with a style that fit sort of your goals, as not just as single couple or single climbers, but as a couple as well. Yeah. And so off the ground, how hard are those pitches right off the ground?
But the first pitch is not so hard.
No?
Or like it's pretty hard for the grade. I think
Right.
it's 6A or 6B, but pretty
okay.
hard. Then there is a 7C plus on the
Okay.
second pitch. Then it gets easier until the beginning of the white circle, and then basically all the hard pitches are concentrated in the
Right.
white circle.
And when you guys did it as a push, how long did you stay up there?
So we stayed 5 days.
Okay.
We top out like in the morning of the 5th day. And so on the first day we climbed up to the white circle, and then we spent 3 days in the white circle, and then we top out on the next day. We actually packed for 10 days because our trip was about to finish.
Okay.
And we kind of knew
You
that
needed to get out of Camp 4.
no.
The ranges were hot on you. We're like breathing down your neck. And you thought, we'll just stay up there for the last 10 days.
just whatever, just stay there. No, we kind of knew that it wasn't possible to do like 2 tries. So we just say, okay, just pack for 10 days and we'll just stay on the
up there
wall.
till we can get it done. What time of year was it?
It was November. I think we arrived on 15th of October and we stayed for 1 month and we did our attempt on beginning of November.
And that you had pretty good conditions?
Yeah, it was super good. Like we had, I think, 20 days of good weather. It was super hot, so we had to climb at night.
Okay, that's the new thing.
Yeah, everybody was climbing at night, but we were not alone. Like Adam was always climbing at night on the downwall. It was really funny because we mostly climbed until I think 11 or something like that, and we went to sleep, and he kept on climbing all night. Sometimes we just woke up because he was like screaming super loud.
Oh, really?
What's going on? Like, okay.
That's awesome. Because at night the sound really travels up there.
Yeah,
you can hear people just talking, even like way over on the nose sometimes. So
it was really like quiet, and then one moment we just went.
You're like, shut up.
And we didn't realize what was going on at the beginning, and then we just saw his headlamp.
Right, you thought somebody like just fell to their death or something, right? That's funny.
We had to get used to it at the beginning. Climb at night wasn't so easy for us, but then when you get used to it, it's not so bad.
Right.
You can chill the whole day on the portal edge, and we stashed food and water before, so we had a lot of good stuff to eat.
So, but isn't it kind of strange to just like chill on the portal edge all day? Is that fine? Like, was it hard to do that? You seem like someone that might not want to just sit there. But
no,
it was cool.
Quite like I always need to do something normally.
Right.
And
you
so
bring
it's
some knitting or like like you're painting, doing something up there.
No, I was just sleeping all day actually. But it's hard. At the beginning, it was hard just to lay down all day, and especially like it was super hot, so you get super tired. But it was okay. It was like a real rest day because you can't move and just have to wait. And then we normally I climb at night because I'm really not a morning person. So I had a really hard time climbing in the morning, and Babsi climbed in the morning. So if she woke up, I don't know, like at 4, she prepared me 1 coffee, gave me the coffee mug, put the grigri on, and I'd just be laying from this back.
Sounds like a good team effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you started you started off as kid climber, right? Pretty young?
I started when I was 10 years old.
Okay.
10 years old, yeah.
What did that look like?
Yeah, I was basically the only kid climbing at the time in the climbing gym, because there was a really small climbing gym in my hometown.
And where are we talking about?
Bolzano.
Bolzano, it's like, give me a region.
It's South Tyrol,
okay.
in the north of Italy, close
sure.
to the Austrian border. And so at the time there was just a really small gym, and I took part in this climbing course, and then I fell in love with climbing, and so I just started to spend all my afternoons in the climbing gym, climbing, until I kind of wanted to share this passion with other kids, and so I had this opportunity to compete, take part in a competition. I took part, and I kind of like it, and so I kept on competing for many years,
right?
Until I decided to stop.
Okay, yeah, it's funny because it I asked that question a lot, and I had sort of looked it up, but just this, like, it's so universal, this thing, like this kid who kind of finds climbing, and all of a sudden that's all they want to do, and I don't know, it's universal, but it also can be, it's kind of rare, like, of all the kids that'll go to a party or go and do a little bit of climbing and everything else, there's like the one little fiend who's like, this is my thing now, right? And you were like the only kid climbing at this little gym at the time, and going to school and stuff like that. Were you also playing sports at school or those sorts of things?
I was, but like I slowly started just to climb, and like I let all the other sports.
Right.
But for sure, like as a kid, I tried out a lot of sports, and like climbing was the one I liked the most.
When did you start climbing outdoors?
I went climbing outdoors with my father sometimes, immediately just after I started climbing. But like I started to climb outside more often when I was, I think, 14, 15.
And were you, like, I was going to say, typically, were you climbing with adults at that point, or had you found some? Yeah,
no, just adults.
Right.
Because, there wasn't a real climbing scene, like a junior climbing scene at the time. And now they open a lot of new gyms, and so there are a lot of kids starting.
Sure.
When I go to the gym now, I can see a lot of like groups of kids climbing together, and I think it's really cool. But at the time, I was just going climbing with my father, or I was training alone in the gym, or like thanks to two good friends, which were way older than me, I started climbing outside. So I made the first trips with them, like I went to Siurana or Slovenia, and that's how I basically started to sport climbing outside.
Okay. And were your parents like happy that you were going out to these places with these like random people?
I don't know.
I like to ask all these questions because I'm just trying to get a feel for, because I started climbing later, right? I wasn't a kid, so my parents had no say in what I was doing by the time I was climbing. I'm just always curious.
I think they always support me somehow, and they were like super happy with what I was doing. But what was really cool is that they never pushed me. So like I never felt that I had to climb because of them. So like they helped me if I asked for help. Otherwise they just like let me do what I was doing.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
No,
only child.
Only child.
So you're out at all these places climbing with older kids or older guys, right? And so what was that like? I mean, in terms of just going out and seeing the world as a kid with a bunch of adults or a bunch of grown-up kids anyway.
Like at the time I just wanted to climb, so I didn't care if I was in France, in Spain or in Italy. I just wanted to climb. And then later on I really started to appreciate like the traveling that climbing involves. And for me now, traveling is one of the most important part of climbing. Somehow climbing has became like a way to travel. So that's the big difference maybe between now and before. So
you're a competition climber, and you said at one point you just decided that was sort of not something.
It was exactly because of traveling. Because like when you do a lot of competitions, you travel really a lot. Like I started to travel to Australia, US, South America, wherever. But you always travel and you see just a gym. You basically go. I remember I went to Australia for like 4 days. So you just arrive there, go to a gym, and you can't see anything else. And I didn't like this. And so I, like after 2 or 3 years where I started to get always less motivated for competition, I decided just to quit because I wanted to see like also the places where I was traveling. That's why I stopped, I think.
Yeah, or go climb somewhere. Like in Australia, like a Ramblers or like the blue.
Yeah, but that's weird.
Right,
but it's not just about climbing, but
you bought the ticket. Like I'm here.
Yeah.
Wait, we're leaving? What's up? I'm not even over the jet lag.
No, let's go.
Yeah.
I always say that I've never been to Australia because I just went to a climbing gym in there. Right?
And you haven't been back?
No.
No. Okay. Well, there's a lot of places to go. It's awesome.
I bet. Yeah. I heard that.
Yeah. That's.
It's next trip maybe.
And so then you turn into sort of a traveling climber, but a sport climber still, or a boulderer, or what what did your climbing look like then in terms of leaving competition behind?
I think I spent the following 2 years just sport climbing and bouldering around. I was kind of looking for something new, but I didn't know what.
Right.
So yeah, just travel around the world for sport climbing and bouldering. Until then, I kind of felt the desire, the need of trying something different, like something more, let's say, like complex. And so, like, I start trying out new things like trad climbing, multi-pitch climbing, and then I fell in love with this aspect of climbing, and so I started to do more of that.
Okay. And what were you doing in terms of like funding your new lifestyle? You were young, living with your folks, and then how are you stringing together a lifestyle with climbing over the different years?
Do you mean like working?
Yeah, working, making money, putting food in your mouth, whether you're a professional climber or what you were before.
I was still studying.
Yeah.
So when I was at home, I was working a lot as route setter.
Okay.
I'm still doing it, and that's how I made my money, like the money for climbing, and basically use all my money for go climbing.
Sure.
To go climbing. For sure, like my parents helped me a lot at the beginning. Thanks, then like I got some new sponsors, and I started to settle a little bit less and travel more, and that's how it's going now.
Right. And it's interesting. That's like, I mean, I know that gyms pay route setters in the States, but it seems like something that you can actually make some money at.
Yeah, it's
in
like
Europe.
especially at the time.
Right.
It's really not easy, but you can make a live out of it.
Right.
Definitely.
Right. Yeah.
There are so many gyms, and there are still not so many route setters. And there is really a lot of work. Even where we are living is not like a really big town, but there are 4 or 5 gyms within like 30 minutes drive. So you can there's a lot of work to do.
And you're living in Austria now?
Yeah, I'm living in Austria.
It's kind of in the same sort of general region as where you grew up? Just across the border, or are you in
just across
place?
Now I'm in another place, but I spent a lot of time in Innsbruck.
Okay.
It was just like 1 hour driving from my hometown.
Right.
So they speak another language, but it's kind of the same culture. So for me, it's like to be at home.
Okay.
It's not like there is not a big difference between Bolzano and where I live now.
So when you again, you're this really accomplished sport climber, and you decide to sort of turn to doing bigger stuff. What were the first kind of experiences with that like?
I had a really hard time at the beginning because I was like thinking, okay, I can climb, let's say, 8B sport. I can climb 8B in the mountains.
Sure, yeah, of course, it'd be easy, yeah.
But no, it wasn't. So I got a lot of slap in my face, and start learning everything, and it was like restarting to climb, like relearn how to climb, It took me a long time to be able to express myself in the mountains as I was climbing, like on sport climbing.
I mean, can you talk literally about like what the inspiration was? Were you reading about these things? Were you just driving by them, or hearing about this kind of world of these big routes and what it was like and that sort of thing? Like, where did this inspiration come from?
But I think like I grew up in a mountain region, so for me it was kind of normal to be in the mountains, and so with the time it was normal to climb in the mountains. And
Sure.
I mean, I'm not an alpinist. I'm just like trying to rock climb in the mountains.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, I think I was just looking for something more complete, a more complete adventure.
Sure.
And you know, like with sport climbing, you just go to the crag, do your try, climb 10 minutes, then you hang out the whole day. And when you climb a multi-pitch in the mountains, you're leaving early. You spend the whole day on a wall. You have, there are a lot of factors that are involved, and I really like that.
Yeah.
You have to care about the weather, about the partners, and also that, like when you go sport climbing, it's more, you do it for yourself. It's just about yourself. And when you do something in the mountains or you do a multi-pitch, it's really important to share it with a partner, and that makes like the whole experience better, I think. And now, like with Babs, is super cool because we're not sharing just our lives, but we're also sharing our passion.
How long have you guys been together?
4 years now.
4 years.
Yeah.
And how long have you known each other?
4 years.
Oh, really? You just swooped in there?
Yeah.
Just like
that. A little bit longer, but
yeah, right. But it happened pretty quick.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. I mean, it's really interesting to meet a couple or to see a couple who have such good parity in terms of ability. You know, and maybe it's the way you guys climb and set your goals, but yeah, you appear to be about as close in sort of ability and motivation as almost anyone I've ever met in terms of climbing couples. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think we are both super motivated, and so we push like each other even more.
Oh, really?
And yeah, it works good.
Yeah.
And we kind of have the same goal, so it's quite easy.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's perfect all the time. You guys never have any problems.
No, for sure. Everybody has problems.
I'm sure.
It's better not to have them on a portal edge.
Right. Well, they happen on portal edges too. So let me go back to a question I asked earlier. Who did you turn to in terms of in your life or around you to get this experience in the mountains, and was there anyone specific, or were you able to find people to? Not
really. I just tried to go out with friends. Like I knew a lot of guys who are climbing in the mountains, so multi-pitch routes and stuff. But I just went out with different friends all the time, and then I met Babsy and I started climbing more with her.
What were some of the first? Or some of the real memorable experiences early on with some of these climbs that you did or tried to do, or maybe learned something important on in the beginning?
It wasn't really at the beginning, but it was really funny. The first, basically, was our first date with Babsi.
Okay.
We went out to do like a really long multi-pitch on the Dolomites, which is should be like a classic. It's not so hard. It's just a hard pitch at the beginning. And so we were sure to make it like easy and be super fast.
Did you guys have, did you both know and understand that it was a date, or were you just climbing together?
No, so we were already together, but it was like our first climbing trip together.
No, that's been a long sort of discussion on the program about what we call the date that's not a date, that's actually really a date, where you're climbing with someone you're interested in, but you're just like climbing together.
No,
you guys were okay. It was on the table. It was above board.
It was clear.
Okay, go back to the story then.
No, and so we're like, it was like a 6C route or something like that. We were sure to make it super easy to the top, and we planned to be at the top like at 4 or something like that to get the last not lift. What's the name? The gondola to go down. But yeah, we ended up like at 8 o'clock in the evening, somewhere in the middle of the wall, we got lost. We didn't have sleeping bags, so we had to bail. I had never liked to bail on such an easy route. Like I got a slap on my face.
Right.
Too, and we understood that we had to start again from the beginning. It wasn't the same as sport climbing.
And it was early in sort of her big route motivations as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys were kind of learning together.
Yeah, I mean, we did before some more like sport climb multi-pitch,
Sure.
and that was the first real experience on like a more alpine route.
Right, but it lit a spark. You guys were still stoked.
Yeah. And it was like a good date.
Yeah, you survived together, right? And I mean, that can be something. Honestly, it can be something that.
But it teaches us that
draws somebody together, or it can, be like the worst day ever.
Yeah, it's true.
No, but you're still smiling, so.
Yeah, the day after.
Right.
No, but it teaches us that even like if a route it maybe like the grade is easy and it's not supposed to be super hard, you have to be really experienced to move like in that environment. It was a really good lesson.
Right.
You kind of have to be humble, even if in the mountains you always have to be humble. Actually, it doesn't matter if you try something hard or easy. That was the biggest lessons probably.
Right.
Yeah.
So what about transitioning into being a bit of a professional climber? Is that just kind of come in sort of piece by piece, adding a little bit of revenue here and there? Or has it been something that you were sort of actively going after?
As a young climber, I also had this big dream to become like a professional climber. But it kind of came like alone, like piece by piece. So I mean, it's not what I was expecting at the beginning. You always think, okay, as a professional climber, I just to climb.
Right.
I can just travel all the year just climbing, and you also have a lot of like obligations. You have to do a lot of stuff, but it's super cool.
You have to talk to me.
Exactly, super tiring after a day of climbing. I mean, it's so cool. You can you meet so many people, and you're always around, and it's such a big dream just to be able to combine your passion with the work. Actually,
Sure.
It's not a work for me,
Right.
Right. It's called professional, but for me, it's just I'm living my dream. So
Sure. That's pretty awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, and your parents are on board with this career of yours?
Yeah, maybe for them it's not a dream.
Right.
No, as a parent, I think parents always want that the kid get a fixed job or something fixed. So at the beginning, I think for them was really hard, especially for my father. But now they're really happy because they see that I can make a live out of it, and I'm happy. I think for them is the most important thing.
So let me ask you a little bit about traveling too. You said that was sort of this motivator that got you a little bit away from sport climbing because it was sort of too narrow in its scope and where it would go and what you could see. Tell me about some of your experiences that you've had in terms of going to a place that just blew your mind.
But for me, one of the best places I've ever been, I think it's South Africa. I just went there for bouldering, but I completely fell in love with the place. It's so cool, the culture is completely different and the place is just amazing. It's just a place where I felt really good. There were a lot of positive vibes around, and I really liked the landscape, just the landscape, I think. It was just a place that I really liked. And a place that I really didn't like was Siberia. I went there last year and it was completely different. We had a really hard time with all the papers and visum and stuff, and we got some problem with the police, and it was a completely different experience. But the climbing there was really cool. It was really nice, in my imagination, I always talked about, when I thought about Siberia, I always talked about a completely flat land, cold, with no rock. And then we ended up climbing there on some big walls. It was really, really cool.
How big?
500 meters, 600 meters.
Really?
Yeah. It was really cool because like we flew there, then we drove, we walked, and for many days we didn't see any rock, anything, like everything was flat, and then just in the middle of nowhere we saw these 3 big pillars that looked like a cap, and it was really cool.
How did you find that place?
I saw some Australians went there the year before us, and they published an article on Alpinist, and we read it, and we contacted them, and we shared some infos, and then we went there together with some friends.
Who went?
The Poe brothers, Hans Gauer, and Sibe Van He.
Okay.
Yeah, we spent there, I think, 4 weeks. Just putting up new routes was really cool. Like, you know, when you are in a place in the middle of nowhere with just a lot of rock, no routes, it was like a huge playground for us.
Free climbing?
Yeah, just free climbing.
Right.
It was really cool.
No mosquitoes, though.
A lot of mosquitoes. I didn't want to talk about that because I hope to forget it.
To forget it. Never remember again.
It was like a nightmare. It was a real nightmare. Like, we had such a hard time with them. They were everywhere on the wall, and you know, like in the rest days, you can't get outside of the tent because they are everywhere.
Yeah, because it's just full tundra.
Yeah, full tundra.
Right. And they were following you up on the wall. Sometimes you can climb away from them. Like you get away from them.
That's what we hoped, but
no.
We knew that for the Australian guys was not that bad. Maybe we just had a really bad season or whatever. But it was really, really tiring. And we always hoped to get used to them, but no way.
No way.
No. Even after 4 weeks, it was completely the same.
Right. What was the trouble with the police?
We don't really know.
Typical, right?
It was like I think was first of all was a communication problem, because nobody was speaking English and we don't speak Russian, and I think we like kind of need an extra visa and we didn't know it, and like the region is considered border region with the US, even if there is the sea, the ocean in between. I don't know, it was like kind of tricky and we didn't really understand why. Because we had 2 hard days dealing with them.
Well, they're probably, I mean, a lot of times those guys are making something up because they want to shake you down.
I don't know.
Right.
I mean, it's also, I think for them it's really hard to understand that someone is going there for climbing. You know, like,
sure. Like, why are you really here?
You're in the middle of nowhere and everything is flat, and you try to explain that you're going climbing. It's really hard to understand.
Right. No, it's the same anywhere in Mexico or wherever.
Yeah.
If they don't have a direct insight to climbing, it just makes no sense whatsoever. You're going to spend all this money.
Yeah, to go there.
Haul all that gear and everything else to do what now?
Yeah.
Right. So they didn't toss you in jail though, did they?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah?
Not
they put
really,
you sort of like...
We were really scared.
You had to stay there.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed to...
No, to just go out.
To do whatever you wanted.
It wasn't that bad, but like...
Yeah.
We had a hard time.
Did you have anybody... Did you guys have like a handler or someone that... was trying to run...
Yeah. We got like this contact from the Australian guys.
Sure.
And this guy helped us really a lot, like with the traduction and translation and everything was really... really helpful. I think without him it would be impossible to go there.
You'd still be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'd still be there waiting for your visa at this point. How did you was it your idea to go on this trip or did they ask you to go?
No, so we had like the opportunity to make a trip all together.
Okay.
And we just started to share some ideas and everybody was kind of motivated to go there because everybody was thinking about just a flat place, and when we saw the pictures of the walls, we were super psyched to go there. Yeah, it was really cool actually, because before the trip we didn't know, like we knew each other but not so well, and it was a really cool way like to know each other better, and the climbing was really good. I wouldn't go back.
Right. Because of the mosquitoes. Right.
But the place is really cool.
Right. Flamethrower, bring like a full on. Yeah. I remember I saw some pictures on Instagram of that trip, and there's a lot of mosquitoes.
Really a lot of mosquitoes.
It's like that's what traveling's all about.
Yeah.
You don't always just have the best time in the world. You like it afterwards. It was a
Exactly.
cool trip
When you
after
think
got
about
home.
when you think back to the time there, it was really cool.
Do you have any other ones?
You know, there are so many cool trips, and it's hard to remember all.
What about sort of dream trips or goals in terms of that? Do you see yourself becoming an alpinist of the other kind, the ice and snow sort of guy?
Not really.
No,
not at the moment. I really would like to do something like more alpine, but always more like rock climbing or mixed climbing, and on like a technical terrain. I'm not so psyched for big mountains at the moment. Maybe I will. I don't know. Maybe when I get older. Now, a really big dream is to go to Patagonia. Maybe this season probably. I would really like to try to free climb Riders on the Storm.
Okay.
This big dream since I was a kid. And otherwise, a big dream is to go to Baffin Island.
Okay.
So I hope to be able to go there in the future.
You know, we've been talking about sort of alpinism. We've been talking about big route climbing, and basically in the U.S., I think we always think about like big route climbing as pure trad climbing. But then once you get into the Alps and the Dolomites and all these places, it does become like you have to differentiate between a big route that's got a lot of bolts on it versus a big route that's trad or mixed or whatever else. So again, as a transition into trad climbing, what do you think that sort of phrase means to you, or maybe means in Europe, or versus what we're talking about? Like, what's the passion there with trad climbing?
But for me, I don't see big wall climbing as trad climbing, because as you say, like in Europe, it's more when you do not a big wall, but a multi-pitch climb, you always have some bolts or some like pitons or whatever, and it's completely different from like the granite multi-pitch in the US or so. For me, trad climbing is more trying some like hard single pitches. That's what I'm like. If I think about trad climbing, I'm thinking about hard single pitches, or like more like big district or this kind of stuff.
Okay.
And it's a really big something that motivates me a lot. Maybe because sometimes I miss the projecting of sport climbing, like trying hard moves or hard single routes, like a one pitch route, and like I want to combine. Like sometimes I still feel the desire of trying some hard moves, hard single pitches, but trying to combine it with mental aspect.
Okay.
So I really like to find just hard routes that goes on gear, and I really like the fact that you have to deal with the fear and this kind of stuff. And this is one of the best aspect of climbing.
I was going to ask you that. So if we're talking about one pitch trad, and you mentioned the Peak District.
I've never been there.
Right. That kind of climbing where you like you just said, you have to deal with fear. Do you feel like you're good at that, or do you have a lot to learn with that in terms of like, I think I just think about climbers of all stripes, all generations, and some people it appears to be no big deal, and other people can't do it at all, and then most of us are sort of in between somewhere.
I had to learn. Like I'm still learning. At the beginning, I was super afraid of falling on a piece of gear, and you slowly get used to it. And I really like the process of dealing with the fear and getting better. Like not getting better, but start to be more efficient when you're scared, and the fact to be able to understand if I'm doing something stupid or if I'm safe or that. And I think that's why I really like this aspect of climbing, like this process of learning and pushing yourself with not too much, and find the right balance of pushing yourself but not too much.
What about truly dangerous climbing? Do you play around with that kind of stuff as well?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
Like if I feel like I'm not a kamikaze climber at all, but I like to deal with this aspect of climbing sometimes. So.
And I say truly because sometimes, the fear is in your head, and like falling on gear does feel scary, but generally it's fine as well. But then there's climbs where, now I know that I can't fall, or this is serious business.
Sometimes you can't fall, for sure. But I'm always scared. I'm not that kind of climber that just doesn't care and goes,
That's good to know. You're always scared. Okay, you're operating just that little bit of fear back there.
No. But as I said, I really like to try to push myself and to deal with that. So try to be able to climb hard if I'm scared, or to understand if I'm doing something stupid, or if I can do the route. Or
Right.
I really like this part.
Was that something that came into play on the Zodiac? Is it scary up there as a free climb?
Not really.
No,
not so much. For sure, like sometimes it's scary, but not so much. The gear is not so good up there sometimes, but it's never too bad.
I used to just aid climb those routes, so I don't know what they were like as a free climb. Some of them were scary enough as an aid climb, but but then again, a lot of them once they got freed, then fixed gear got it put in place, and so
you replace some gear, and even if some gear pops, then you have a good piece just below, and you have a lot of air below, so you never hit the
but
ground.
that's hard to just knowing that you can fall forever and you'll be okay isn't always that comforting.
No, for sure. No,
I've told myself that. I can fall forever on this. It doesn't usually help that much.
No, for sure, it's super scary. I think I got more scary on some maybe single pitches where I was trying to not to place bolt or whatever.
Right. Yeah, well, you're close to the ground. So that's really, in the end, it's
easier to get scared.
Sure. Well, awesome. Well, thanks a lot for sitting down.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I know your English started to run out of steam there because it is kind of late and you climbed all day.
And the beer is...
And you're drinking some beers as usual on the Enormocast. But I totally appreciate you sitting down, taking some time out of your vacation. And I hopefully, are you coming back to the States sometime soon?
Yeah, we will. Yeah. We'll come for sure in fall. We'll go back to the valley.
Oh, go to Yosemite.
And maybe before, I don't know.
Get back up on El Cap?
Yeah, definitely.
Right on.
When you go there for the first time, then you for one time you always want to go back. It's so cool. There are so many routes, so many dreams.
Right. So. Yeah, I know. It's like there's the free climbing kind of is starting to get to where it's a lifetime of it on El Cap.
That's really cool. Like last year, I think there were more. When we were there were more sport climbers, more like free climbers on El Cap than aid climbers. Which was really cool. It's like a huge playground for climbers, and I think in the future there will be always more climber there.
Always more free
climbers. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like aid climbing is not such a big deal in Europe. There are not so many aid climbers. So when I say climbers, I'm always thinking about free climbers.
Yeah, it's always been like that.
Yeah.
Because up until 15 years ago, the nose got freed longer ago than that. But up until this kind of revolution of free climbing, it was. Aid climbing was El Cap.
Was the day? Yeah, it was that.
That's your dream was if you were putzing around aid climbing on something smaller. You wanted to go and climb El Cap like that, or go to Yosemite.
Yeah.
So, I've watched it too. Because I was that guy. I was the aid climber, the dude out in the middle there, on some of those routes that, frankly, those would get freed if there was pro. Some of those, those hooking pitches, you're hooking on holds, you're hooking on handholds, but there's no pro. Is the problem. True. So. But it is pretty cool that's been going down there, and it's like the Europeans, obviously the Hubers, and you just said that like we never really had this like aid climbing ethic so much in Europe, and that's.
I think it's just because we didn't have the rock is also is different. We don't really have such big walls, and it's just a different playground. And so.
But what I was
has
going to
evolved in different ways.
Yeah, what I was going to say is it took a couple of Euros. You know, those guys, the Hubers, they kicked the door open in terms of free climbing on El Cap, even if it had, you know, the South A had been done and the nose had been done. But then it was crickets, as we say, like nothing was happening.
And then they came.
Yeah, in a lot of ways I see that like era, and I think because of that, those guys brought a vision that said, you know, we should be free climbing up here. Not just the professionals. People can go up here and free climb. And then opening the free rider really did that for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And even though that's kind of like the easiest route.
Yeah, but it's still hard.
But it's still really hard. Yeah. But it's a route that's at a level that, especially now,
now a lot of people can do it,
that's like, oh, I could do that. Somebody just sitting in their house, in Boulder, Colorado, could be like, I could climb that thing. And then, as soon as that happens, it's like your mind expands and people's minds expand.
Yeah, there are always more people climbing.
And it's like, we can climb up here. Yeah. So that's cool.
I really hope to see more free climbers up there in the next years. It would be really cool.
Do you guys ever get itched to speed climb, like to do 1 days of these free ascents or anything?
We are really bad with that.
All right. You'd have to get up early.
Yeah,
that's a big problem.
Early. And I'm not a morning person.
Okay.
We work super well as a team, but we are slow.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Slow and steady. And steady. Well, good. It's probably better that you're both like that and not just one.
Yeah.
Or you drive the other person nuts.
Yeah. So it's the same level.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot for sitting down.
Thanks to you.
All right, folks, thanks for listening, and thank you so much to Signore Larcher for sitting down and giving us some of his time. Just a tremendously psyched, friendly, nice guy, and I'm really glad we hooked up. And remember, folks, if you appreciate what goes on here at the Enormocast, what we bring you, the Royal We, the fact that the Royal We took time out of his vacation to sit down with Jacopo to get you a little bit of Italian continental flavor, then please consider going over to enormocast.com and clicking out the Help Out tab. Follow the directions up there. Like the Facebook page, write a review on iTunes. Kick down a donation if you feel like it. A little bit from a lot of people goes a long way. Buy me an espresso, if you will. But if you haven't the means, that's fine too. Just spread the word and do what you can to keep this thing going forever. Okay, folks, I want you to stay safe out there. I just read about a simul-rappelling accident. I've simul-rappelled a couple times in my life, and both times I was like, this ain't worth it. Because by the time we take the time to make sure everything's perfect and clip in together at the end of the rope when we get to the anchor and all the extra stuff that goes with the freakiness of doing that, I don't think we saved any time. I think if we just zipped down separately, it would have taken just about the same amount of time. But anyhow, more to the point is that remember, when you guys get out of the system, when you stop doing the on belay, off belay, leader leads, second follows, when the system starts to break down for whatever, you drop a piece, you need to be lowered, you need to go sideways, you want to simul rappel, whatever it happens to be, when you break out of that basic system, that's when shit goes wrong. And sometimes it's necessary. Let's face it, the system doesn't apply to every single situation. But please, when the system is being changed, when you guys are breaking out of that basic run-of-the-mill climbing system, go on high alert. Okay, it's time to go on high alert. And don't let the system break down just out of laziness. All right? So remember, use your signals, check your knot, communicate before you leave the ground. Please, please, please. Youth is grand, life is grand, and you do not want to lose it just because of the silly game we play.
Want a beer?
You gonna call room service?
We got beer.
You haul beer up this rock, you're insane.
I may be insane, but I'm not stupid. I didn't carry it. You did. It's in your pack.